What's going on, friends? So today we're talking about this shoulder pain. Let me adjust my microphone real quickly. All right, there we go. So we're talking about shoulder pain, why it happens, and one of the things that I had said recently was there's a lot of exercises out there that make the shoulder feel good, but they don't actually solve the problem of what's causing it. So the symptom is pain, but that's not the cause. So how do we address that? And if you guys are interested in setting up a free 15-minute call to gain clarity around what's going on with your injury, you can screenshot or scan with your phone that QR code right there on the right-hand side. And if you'd like to join the Facebook group that I have where I try and share as much content as possible to help you guys out when it comes to pain, resolving injury, and training for longevity using the 3 Bs of awareness-based training: breath, body tension, and barefoot, you can do so by scanning the QR code on the left-hand side. So let's get into it. Here we are. So, common exercises for the shoulder. And that's what I'm talking about when we're saying this whole thing right here. Okay? We have the shoulder, which acts as a joint here, right? The glenohumeral joint. And then we have the shoulder as a whole, the girdle, which is the collarbone, the scapula, and the actual arm bone and down. So common exercises include the rotator cuff banded exercise, which I'm going to show you in a second, the scap wall slides with a band, and the banded shoulder extraction. So essentially, let's dive on into these. Well, actually, briefly, their intent, right? It's, again, to relieve pain and ideally to prevent the injury from happening again and to return to longevity. But point in case is that really rarely ever happens with these types of exercises. But why don't they work? And again, we said they're treating a cause rather than, or excuse me, they're treating a symptom rather than a cause. So let's look at the banded rotator cuff, right? It's a common exercise. It's meant to address the external rotators, the internal rotators. Okay, here's another one going more internally rotation-based. It's a really common one you'll see in physical therapy clinics, and it is great for things like post-surgery, but when we're actually trying to move our bodies, lifting a weight overhead, doing a down dog position, supporting in a handstand push-up, or doing an inverted hold in yoga, right? There's not a lot that I am going to be able to get from this because it's only doing a rotation-based piece at the shoulder. And we're going to dive into more of the concept of why this doesn't benefit later. Right, but we're getting a lot of blood flow. We're getting a muscular burn there. So we're bringing awareness to the shoulder, but it's only the rotation-based piece. And although they do help with controlling the rotation and also depressing, as in driving down and holding the shoulder in place, that's not going to be enough to solve the root cause of the problem when I lift something overhead. Let's dive into the next piece. Scapular wall slides. Right, again, I'm driving up and out. This is to work the serratus anterior, which hugs the rib cage and the shoulder blade, and hugs the shoulder blade to the rib cage as you move your arm up and overhead. Have you ever seen, they call it like a boxer's muscle? So when a boxer punches and you see those really defined muscles along the rib line near the armpit, that's the muscle that this exercise is working here. Also, you can see my right shoulder is a little bit elevated. That's not good, but something I've been working on nonetheless. So we have the banded shoulder distraction as well. So decompressing the shoulder, it's pulling it away from the shoulder joint, right? I'm getting a nice stretch likely through my lat. My trap's probably getting a nice stretch. Here I'm getting a full side body piece. Again, it's treating the pain, but it's not treating the cause of the problem. So just real quickly to review, we have the rotator cuff exercise, which is working the rotators, which help with the rotation, right, i.e. in the name, of the arm, and also help depress the shoulder to hold it more stable. This one helps move the shoulder blade a little bit better. So we have moves the arm bone, moves the shoulder blade, and then we have opens the joint there, right? So essentially rotation, helping it glide better, and distracting the shoulder is in opening up the joint a little bit more. But what if those are not causes, right? Because those would be causes necessarily to the symptom of pain, ideally, if we're thinking about it that way. But I propose that you have two things that are going on. You, number one, are pulling on your movements overhead rather than pushing, right, or pressing. So you're pulling apart, and I'll draw that in a second. And you don't have the capacity yet to create proper muscle tension when you lift overhead. I don't want to work just the rotator cuff. I don't want to work just the serratus, and I don't want to distract the shoulder. because when I gain tension, then the shoulder will hold itself less tight. It's trying to be tight to protect you in most cases when I work with people. I want to learn how to fire the pec. I want to learn how to fire the lat. I want to learn how to fire the parts of my bicep and my tricep and my upper back that are going to help me stabilize a load overhead. Right? A brief example in a different exercise, if I'm going to get stronger in the back squat and prevent pain, my upper back holds the weight. Right? So if I'm going to be able to help improve part of my legs, I do need to work on my hip if I have pain there, my knee if I have pain there, but also what's going on my upper back and my core, what's happening there. So what I mean by when we're pushing or pulling, I believe that is my next slide. Most people apply pressure to the bar, which goes out this way. This is how they apply pressure. But this is why I love pressing sandbags and dumbbells. One of the exercises I'm going to show you in this one, we need this press, just like these arrows are drawn already, to go up and in, because that will engage the pec here and here. It will engage part of the short head of the bicep, which is extremely important for stabilizing your shoulder overhead. It will help you learn to engage the lats when we do it correctly. You'll get the smiley face of the core being engaged as well. And if I was looking at the reverse of the athlete, I'd be firing their upper back as well. So I am pulling on movements. This happens when we see a lot of the shoulder blade rotating down and in when I'm pulling too much. Also, if I go the opposite way, if I externally rotate too much, I then, showing my armpits too much during an overhead lift, I then risk the elbow being injured, potentially dislocated. And because I'm rotating back so much, I essentially lock in my upper back, not in a good way, in the sense of it dramatically limits my range of motion. And then that's when you see people when they're lifting overhead where the upper back will be flat and then the pelvis is crazy tilted like this, because the hip is going to be pointing down and forward, creating a really big anterior tilt in the hips. So, how do we fix this? We go through some exercises to help us create better body tension. So the psoas is going to connect upper and lower extremity together. And the greater range of motion I can control here, the better I can control my pelvis. The psoas runs through, connects with the spine, so the better I can control my spine when I'm lifting overhead. So let's get a little bit further into this exercise here. Let me see here. I'm explaining how to do it. This is on my YouTube channel here. So I'm trying to fire my psoas, which runs up and through to my spine, and I'm really getting it to fire by this active compression. I'm firing my core. I'm inhaling as I go up, and I'm exhaling as I come down, but I'm learning how to keep tension in my psoas. And again, you can view this video with audio on my YouTube channel, the exercise while there. But the first thing is I have to be able to connect upper and lower body together. If I can't connect upper and lower body together, my press isn't going to be good, my handstand push-up's not going to be good, any inverted poses or down dogs are not going to be as great, because I'm going to be putting too much tension through my low back, meaning my shoulder has to compromise for it. No local problems, no local solutions. This is one of my favorite exercises to help you create tension pushing rather than pulling. So this is called the Pec Press, and essentially what I'm going to do is hold the dumbbell on the side, and I'm going to begin pressing it. I don't want to cup my hands underneath like you just saw there momentarily, but I am squeezing in on each side of that dumbbell, and that's helping me fire my pec, my short head of my bicep, and I'm only going as high as I can control. I'm not going any higher because I can't control that range of motion. It improves over time because I'm inhaling on the way up, gaining range of motion, preventing the shrug like I just did right there. And over time, I'm going to receive a better range of motion overhead, and that's extremely important, because if I can have a better range of motion overhead, you wouldn't want to shrug. And I'm learning how to keep tension in my pecs as I go up, so I'm creating a better tension as I'm lengthening, and that's extremely important because that's mobility. I'm teaching my shoulder, hey, you can be safe in this range of motion, so it's not tight, so I don't have to do banded shoulder distractions. And the first two exercises, specifically this one and the next one with the shoulder, is going to make it so that I don't have to do serratus wall slides. I'm squeezing in, which help it glide through that range of motion. And the reason why, just real quickly going back, that exercise isn't great is because, again, it's teaching me to pull out, or to push out, excuse me. And instead of pushing in, I am pulling out. I don't want to do that. So just kind of like a point behind why we wouldn't want to do that, and instead you can replace it with this pec press. Going on to our final one, this teaches me again how to, now I have my psoas connecting my upper and lower body together. I'm firing my pec. Now I'm going to get more abdomen in play. I'm going to bring the psoas in, and I'm going to tie it all together as well with the pec and the short head of the bicep by doing this thing called the T-spine opener. So my shoulders are up off the ground, you see here. My lower back into my pelvis is tucked, and I'm squeezing this inward, right? I am pushing. I'm pushing with that. And as I go overhead, I am engaging my pec and the short head of my bicep. My upper back is opening, but not in like I'm externally rotating so much to lock myself in there. So I'm squeezing the dumbbell, and again, I'm not being forced to externally rotate so much to lock my shoulder in place, which means that my upper back is locked, and then I have to overextend through my low back. So this, one of my favorite ones that I teach to fellow CrossFitters and the people that I'm also a student with in yoga, is it's teaching you how to gain strength in length, which is kind of one of the main points we've been driving home. So we want to be able to create proper tension using things like the T-spine opener, inhaling as I go overhead, exhaling as I come down. This exercise is extremely difficult. It can be done with a light weight or a block between the hands. I, again, have the Pec Press to be able to learn pushing in, creating tension in the pec, recruiting the short head of the bicep, and becoming aware if I shrug or overextend. And then I'm connecting lower body and upper body together with the psoas raise. So, lastly, if you guys have any questions, please do let me know. Again, you can join on for a 15-minute free call to gain clarity on your specific injury, whether it's shoulder-related or not. And you can also join the Facebook group if you haven't done so already. But just remember, how am I pushing the weight overhead? Is it a press or is it a pull? And what muscles am I firing? Because it's not going to be a small muscle that's causing the problem over time. A large muscle group and a large muscle chain that's not firing correctly together is likely what's causing my problem. So if you guys have any questions, please do let me know, and have a great rest of your day.